What's up, guys? M.V.K here, back again. My comic fans, back for a little comic review, guys, for you again. And today I am delivering reviews for, I would say, the initial first 3 titles out of the From the Ashes of the X-Men. This is all X-Men. And also a title that I wanted to talk about in general that came out before. So we're going to start with that title first, and then we'll go into what I thought about the initial first 3 titles. I have not read X-Force. I know X-Force came out. I haven't picked up my books this week, for this week. But let's kick it off, shall we? So the first book we're going to talk about is the one-shot entitled Life of Wolverine. Life of Wolverine right here. Jim Zub does the writing here. So basically, this is a refresher course of anybody who's never read or knows Wolverine's history back to back. Wolverine has a very, very, very illustrious, very tragic history. And this is kind of like the forefront of it. So in this story, we see Jean Grey and Professor Xavier. This is before the end of Krakoa. They're with Wolverine. And Wolverine is basically acknowledging and allowing Jean to look at all his history. In the beginning, it looks like basically he wants Jean and the professor to clean his slate. Like, all these memories, he wants them to just disappear. It's almost as if he's tired of him. It's like there's always a scent of goodness, but then it's all tragic. And Jean, for the first time, is seeing all these memories from the day he was born to the day his bone claws were shown, to the day he was running with the pack of wolves and he was called the Wild Man of the Wolves, to the day he met Sabretooth's brother Saul Creed, to the day he and Sabretooth became bitter enemies, and to the day Sabretooth killed and raped Silver Fox. Like, she's seeing everything to the day he was training with a young Natasha Romanoff, aka Black Widow. Yes, people forget Black Widow is older than she is. So we get to see that, to him training with Matsumoto, to his time in Japan, to him meeting Mariko, and all this. You're just seeing everything. It's just a whole slew of just the life of this man. And of course, yeah, seeing him, there were some things, not a lot of things surprised me, but there were a couple of things that did, because I did not, the one thing that kind of surprised me was the wars that he was in. I knew he was in World War I, I knew he was in World War II, I knew he was in Vietnam, but I didn't know he also was in the Spanish War. I was like, wait, what? He was there? And of course, they showed some other things as well. Up until and then of course when he became a part of the X-Men, where he, as Jean said, where you initially found a family. It was great. The way Jim Zub wrote it, it was like, okay, you get it. But as a Wolverine fan, this is something for you. If you want to, this was mainly just to add to my collection as a Wolverine fan. That's all this was. It was never. That's all it was. I'm a Wolverine fan. I always will be. And he's a very heroic but tragic character as well. He is like a Ronin. He is like a wandering samurai and a lost samurai at times. Sometimes he gets lost, in his own rage. I love that Jean was able to see when he got the adamantium out of him, and then what happened to him, that transformation he went through when when Magneto took the adamantium out of him. There's just so much that Jean got to see, and then by the end of it, what I love is I have to spoil this. Is at the end, once she sees everything, she's like, "Okay, Logan, I'm ready to basically," and he literally says, "No, Jean." He says no. He says, "Keep him. I want to keep him." Almost in a sense that he realizes that even though there's a lot of tragedy in his life, there are a lot of good things as well. And I love that Jean even says like she was honored to be allowed to see these memories and all this. How much, from his first love, his first old friend, and his first love, Rose. Since this is a sense of the reason why, Wolverine kind of has an affection for Jean. And even their first meeting, when how she was a little afraid of him and things like that, it was just great. It was a good read. Jim Zub did a good job. This was fun to read. It was like a refresher course if you are not familiar of everything Wolverine. And plus, this was basically for Wolverine's 50th anniversary. Remember, yes, James Howlett, Logan, whoever you want to call him, yeah, he's over 50 now. So congratulations to that. All much love and respect to all the creators who put this character together. Lynn Wein, all of them. Yeah, even Roy Thomas, who now is acting a fool because of something in the credits of Deadpool and Wolverine. I may do a whole video on that because that's just childish, just ridiculous. So we move on to the next titles. Now, I'm going to put these in alphabetical order. Sorry. Like that. But we're going to move on to the first issue of Nyx, or NYX. This is by Kelly and Lansing. This is the first issue. You got Kamala, Laura, one of the Cuckoo, Anal, and Prodigy, David, on there. So what did I think of this? This was a good start. Very good start. I enjoyed it very much. Very good start. We're seeing Kamala. She is still adapting to the fact that she's basically a mutant inhuman hybrid. And of course she now goes to college. She's in college now, and there she meets one of the Cuckoo, and she kind of starts a conversation with her, and it's almost like she's just, oh, you're my friend now. It's the funniest thing. And there are a lot of things that are going on. David, Prodigy, is a professor. He's like one of the youngest professors. Noel he works as a bartender in a club, and we only see Laura one time, and that's when she and Kamala are talking at one point. Hopefully we'll see more. But it does focus mostly on Kamala and one of the Cuckoos. I'm forgetting which one this is. And still Kamala still holds this. She still has a secret identity. She talks about this. Because even when like there was like a Kamala is literally like, okay, I gotta get. I don't have my mask. So what does she do? She stretches her face and stretches her face and makes it look like all deformed, like a mask, and tries to help people. I thought that was hilarious. I'm like, whoa, I forget she can do that? Okay. And then of course she talks to, she's talking to the Cougar, and she's like, I have a healing factor too, but it takes a lot out of me, and that when my healing factor is intact, it stops me from basically getting bigger. So there are some, and she's just like, I find it weird that you call it that, and the fact that you still have you still hide behind a mask in a sense. It was hard. It was really kind of enticing as well, And then of course we see I guess you could say the main antagonist, and then we see who these main antagonists are, and that really threw me for a loop. I'm like, whoa, okay, interesting. Where is this going? Where's this going, Kelly? Where's this going, Lansing? I'm like, okay, I'm down. I'm down. Who those villains, who those individuals are, I'm not going to spoil. But I did enjoy the initial first issue of this. This was fun. Very fun. I'm looking forward to continues. Like I said, with all these X-Men titles, I'm going to give each one the first story arc. If after the first story arc, I'm not really feeling it, I'll let it drop it. But most likely, I'm not. There are going to be some I will not drop. But this was a good start. I really enjoyed this very much. Well done. Moving on to Miss Phillips, I believe. Stephanie Phillips, I think, is writing this. Phoenix, #1. Jean. Hi, Jean. Guys, if you guys know me, Jean Grey is not only one of my favorite X-women or X-men. She's one of my favorite redheads in comics. I love Jean. I love the fact that Jean now has the Phoenix back. And now she wants to use the Phoenix Force in a better routine of just feeling like the Phoenix is always a destroyer. And I appreciate that with her. So in this title, we see a group that is talking about the Phoenix and when they first saw it and everything like that. And their planet is about to explode because their sun is about to go into a meltdown and things like that. Then, of course, we see the Phoenix come down to save them. She comes down and she does. Then she gets, not only then after that, we see in another quadrant of the galaxy, sorry about that, in another quadrant of the galaxy, we see a prison, and inside that prison, we got Richard Rider, Nova. He's out there, and he's telling they're getting sucked into a black hole because the prisoners tried to escape, and it caused the barrier, that keeps them from getting is in trouble. So he's telling the guards and everything, like, we got to get the prisoners out, and they're like, leave them, Sam is like, no, we have to. And of course, things go awry. So Sam calls out for a SOS. Meanwhile, we got Jean telepathically speaking with Scott. And, talking about why she has to do this and what she wants to accomplish. And, it's just amazing that she's telepathically speaking with Cyclops, and she's in another galaxy. He's on Earth. He's in Alaska and everything like that. But I loved it. I love that and I love how supportive Scott is. He's like, do what you got to do. She even says thank you for the ship, because she has the Blackbird out in space, and he even says, like, I don't know why you need it because you could fly everywhere. And she says it just keeps me reminded of home. And I thought that was sweet. I was like, okay, that's cool. And then, of course, there's even more to the point where we see, that's when she gets the telepathic SOS from, Nova. And she feels it. Even Scott feels it. She's like, ah. And so he's like, I gotta go. And he's like, and then just says, I love you. And then they go off. And I was like that. I loved it. And I love how when Jean gets there, she's like, she helps out Nova because a lot of the guards are trying to get away. There was even a prisoner in there that was like a dark god, and he fought Thor, and Nova is having a little trouble, and then Jean comes in and is able to put him down, and she says, what's the situation, everything like that, and then she's like, well, we're getting sucked, this black hole is gonna, and she's like, oh, is that it? Okay, I'll go out and absorb it. And I love how she said it nonchalant. She's like, yeah, I'll go out and just absorb it, no problem. And Nova's like, you can do that? And she's like, Richard, I just absorbed all the bad energy of a sun to reserve it, to keep it awry from a planet blowing up. This is no problem to me. and she does. It's the craziest thing. It's the coolest thing. But I loved it. It was a good initial start of just showing you what Jean and the Phoenix can do, and how important, what she feels is important, and why she needs to do this. So I'm really liking this. This was good. This was fun. I seen a preview of a couple of issues later where she's gonna be facing Gorg, the God Butcher. I'm like, I am fucking down for that. Let's go. So for the first issue, the initial first issue of Phoenix, I'm down. Good job, Miss Phillips. I enjoyed this very much. Looking forward to more. And I know, I think the next issue is she's gonna meet her father-in-law, Corsair. So they're gonna be dealing some things, and I'm good. So yeah, for anybody out there, Jean and Cyclops are still married. You know, they're not divorced or anything. So yeah, because for all those people out there that keep saying that, you know, Marvel loves to divorce their characters, they don't keep their. That's not true. They're still together. And we end this on X-Men #1 or 301. I could have sworn X-Men had more than that, than 300 issues. They talk about that's the legacy. No, I could have sworn there's more to that. So we got M.V.K, who is becoming the diamond in the rough for Marvel. M.V.K has his hands in everything. And the one thing I hope for Mr. McCray, he doesn't burn himself out. You know, don't try to take on more than you need to, Mr. McKay. Because I've seen this with some of my favorite writers, and they burn themselves out because they put too much on their plate. But this was good. Ryan Stegman does the artwork. So we have this X-Men crew, which is Cyclops, Psylocke, Magic, Tempest, Oya, well, she calls herself Tempest now, Beast, and Omni Kid, or Omega Kid, Kid Omega, and Magneto. So this is the initial first issue of this, and the X-Men are now in their new headquarters up in Alaska. It is an old factory that was once where Sentinels were being born, were being raised, being done. And in this, we see Beast showing the sheriff of this town around and showing her everything, and she feels a little bad, and Beast is introducing her to some of the occupants here. And there's even a point where she meets Magneto, and she's about to reach for her gun, and Magneto's like, she's reaching for her gun, and she's like, well, and Beast is like, well, I mean, you do put fear in people, Eric. Like, well, why? I can understand that. And he even goes on, when I was a teenager, I was fighting you, I had fear. And then Magneto says the thing that just made me just say, oh, Magneto, shut up. You know damn well that's not what you did. So she goes on to say, Magneto goes on to say, it was that fear that made Cyclops a leader. It is that fear that was able to have Jean acquire and have the Phoenix. It was that fear that made Bobby move to his Omega level. It was that fear that had Angel become who he was. I'm reading this and I'm like, shut up. No, it ain't. You know damn well that ain't what your fear did. And it had nothing to do with that. That was the one part of this book I was just like, Magneto, shut up. Shut up. You know damn well that is it. And then he goes on to say, these are my kids and everything. I'm like, because Magneto's now is in a chair. He's looking like Professor Xavier just with a helmet on. I'm like, yeah, okay, shut up. You know, please. While that's going on, the X-Men are on a rescue mission, and they're there to rescue. They're there because they're dealing with these mutants that seem to, their powers just activated in their adulthood, and they're kind of like bad, but they're also here to rescue Wolverine. Wolverine is in this, and they're torturing Wolverine. I mean, they're torturing him to the point like you see them rolling out his intestines. I'm like, God damn. And when they rescue Wolverine, Wolverine basically goes back and he's like, I can't do this no more. I'm out of here. And they're just like, Cyclops like, what do you mean we're gone? And Wolverine gives this big great soliloquy about how we always have to start all over, and I'm just tired of it. And he said I should have never left the woods. Hence, that's where Wolverine's solo title is going to take place. He's living out in the Canadian wilderness. But it was a good run, and then he basically, so he said, I'm not quitting. I gotta figure things out. And it was really cool to see how Cyclops is appreciating Juggernaut on the team and things like that. But outside of that, it was a good run. I enjoyed it very much, and yeah, it was fun. And even at the end part was even cool too, like where they said, should we take down, and then Cyclops says, no, let's keep this up for a while so they can so the town can remember that they need to be appreciative of what we did. And you see like this big sentinel that's still dead. Is just cool. But outside of that, it was fun. It was a really good run. Well, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this little review of the first 3 X books that are coming out of the Ashes run. I enjoyed every one of them. I'm looking forward to reading X-Force. I'm looking forward to reading Gail Simone's X-Men. That's one that I am so geared up for because it's Gail, of course. But I'm looking forward to reading all the X books that are coming out. Even there are a few that I may not get. I might get in trade, but like the Mystique book, I think that's a mini-series, so I might get that in trade. And I think the Dazzler is a mini-series too, which I might get in trade too. But all the ongoing series, I'm all for. There will be more comic reviews coming up. I have more coming up. A lot of Marvel, a lot of indie. I don't have much DC because most of my DC stuff is in trade, so I read everything in trade with DC. But with that being said, guys, more comic reviews in the future. I'll see you guys next time. And if you've read any of these, tell me in the comment section below what you thought. I'll see you guys next time. Deuces.